Guess who's back? Back again.
Daniel Ricciardo.
Back. Tell a friend. Guess who's back?
Daniel Ricciardo.
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 Let's go, man! I got it!
It's backseat drivers time.
Good evening and welcome to Backseat Drivers number 5 for 2024. How good was the racing on the weekend, especially for the Australians out there? Will Power taking a win and Daniel Ricciardo actually having a decent result there in Canada. To talk about that and many other topics, unfortunately we won't be joined by Rob tonight. He's still off celebrating Daniel Ricciardo's turn of fortunes, and Buffy is too busy playing Diablo or something. I think that's a game. But we have got Matt here, so welcome, Matt.
Hooray! We get to use the old Dan music. It's been too long. I feel like Rob's probably drowning his sorrows watching Dan prove everyone wrong that he belongs in the sport. And all of Canada can jog on and leave. I know why. I was thinking about this before, Dave. Now, as I am a simpleton of F1 still, I'd like to consider it like this. There's people like you and your viewers who know F1, right? And if you ask them a question like, who won the 2008 Singapore Grand Prix? Obviously, they'd say, nobody won. It doesn't count. But then if you ask them like other questions like, can you name the last 6 or 7 F1 champions? A simpleton would say Verstappen, Hamilton, Fuzzy, maybe Rookie of the Year, Schumacher, and then footage lost, and maybe Senna, because they're like, and then they took up blocks, right? No one won, and then there was like a bit in the middle, Jenson Button probably doesn't really exist unless you watch the Netflix other commentary. And, there were other people like Equal Machinery. They also won, but no one remembers them. Unless you actually went out of your way to look at it. This is what I think happened to Villeneuve. What's happened is he's walking up to do his taping, right? And someone said, hey, look over there. It's a world champ. And he went, perfect. I'll get my pen out and I'll sign an autograph. No, they saw Jenson Button. He's gotten furious. Why does no one know who I am? That's it. I'm going to take it out on someone who's way more popular than me, and I'm just going to randomly pick that guy. Screw you. You made fun of my Canadian mate a couple of weeks ago because he accidentally crashed into the back of me. I'm going to have a go and then basically really bring myself into the spotlight of how unknown I am. So I reckon a lot of Drive to Survive people went, why is the lead singer of the Smashing Pumpkins or Moby having a go at Daniel Ricciardo? And then, as I said before, he's probably in a job because of someone like Daniel Ricciardo, because they can hire more people. They need to get way more staff. So they're like, let's ask the people who have technically won a championship. We're scraping at the bottom here because no one knows who you are. He would have turned up expecting people to be like, out of my way, I'm Jacques Villeneuve, I've won a championship. And everyone there would have been 22 years old, sitting on TikTok going, to your left over there, go, whatever. They would have had no idea who he was. I reckon a lot of people that watched that video first, unless it said at the bottom, world champion Jacques Villeneuve, they would have said, who's this man? Why is he having a go at Dan? And in his defense, he is correct. Daniel Ricciardo is not a champion. He's not even the best. But I tell you what Dan Ricciardo brings is sponsorship dollars and viewership.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not the best person, but now that F1 is purely a business, there are 5 or 6 drivers at the top who are obviously there to win a race. Lewis Hamilton's not one of them anymore. He's been demoted, right? So see, someone can name all the winners. Yeah. But you know what happened there? Still didn't name Villeneuve. You still missed him. You just proved my point. Everyone forget after like 2000, no one cares. But there are what? There'd be what, 4? I wouldn't even call Perez a part of the winning championship. You've got Verstappen, you've got McLaren, Ferrari, and Red Bull, half of Red Bull, that are there to win, right? The rest of them are there to have a bit of fun. Like Bottas, he's not winning any races. He's just making TikToks. Daniel Ricciardo's there to get people excited. Anyone below Ricciardo at this point, I have no idea who you are. You're purely there to ride on the coattails of someone else, right? Yuki is there because he can drive, but he's going to get screwed over. And then you've got who's left? Not many people. There's like half of them are racing, half of them are not racing. And Dan is there to promote the sport, mainly Red Bull, then Visa, and then the F1, and Cash App, and then whatever he's flogging, the wine,
Hugo Boss,
Optus, Hugo Boss, what is it?
Chante.
Alashante, yeah. He's not there to like sit on the podium, but if he can drive, let's be honest, Dave, it's not a good car. You know,
it is getting better. It just needs to. That was the most disappointing jump start I've ever seen. Like usually when you jump the start, you gain positions. He somehow managed to jump the start and go backwards.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's getting better though, because
the start wasn't as bad as what it has been quite a few times this year.
He will improve.
Yeah. And
then I think it'll be a fun, awkward chat when they keep asking Villeneuve at the end of the year, your speech aged like milk.
I think also with that, though, you've got the announcement that Perez was signed for 2 more years this weekend. Then you've got Yuki got his contract extended for 12 months, I think. And then the second best performing Red Bull driver of the weekend is currently out of contract.
Yes. That's how Red Bull work. That's
yeah, which obviously, like the Perez thing must have been signed before his downturn in form. So that was probably signed like off the back of, I'm trying to think, because he wasn't impressive in Melbourne either. No. So it was probably signed in Bahrain or something where, like
you mean that early?
I think so, and then they've been waiting to announce it, and then they're like, oh fuck, he's not getting any better. I suppose we better announce his contract and see what happens. But yeah, I think it must have been signed pretty early. Like someone's made it. Well, I think there's a power play going on anyway with the whole Horner and Marco Verstappen.
Well, I was thinking I don't know how Yuki's works, but Dan was signed to Red Bull but drives for Cash App. Are they all like that? As in, like, I'm not saying this will happen, but could they, if they really wanted to, go, hey, Perez, you signed that contract. Hey, you didn't read it. You can actually still drive for Cash App. And at any time, we can just move you across. I
still think if the season continues like it, say it continues like Canada, where you've got the Toro Rosso's closer to the front, and Dan is running at that Yuki or slightly above pace, that they'll just get to the end of the year and go, here's a Checo. Like it's Liam and Yuki in at Toro Rosso, and you're out. And promote, or Dan goes back to Red Bull.
Well, what do you think the chances that Red Bull's gap closes? I mean, Ferrari got very unlucky in last race, but if they had finished it would be a lot tighter than what it is now.
Yeah, well, that's what I found very strange about the whole Perez thing, was that he's obviously struggling, which, okay, they've probably signed this contract earlier, when they probably thought they had a bigger advantage as well. But it's a 2-year extension too, which seems
I heard
very
that's what
strange.
they were going to give him 1 year. He wanted
Yeah.
2 years, which
Yeah.
means he clearly has something over them because
It's funny. I was listening to a podcast somewhere, and they said, "Oh, I wish I had the photos of Christian Horner, that the incriminating photos that Checo Perez is holding."
he must
Yeah.
have something worse than the WhatsApp messages. And he just, look, let's pretend that we're doing negotiation, but in actual fact, I'm going to turn up to this meeting. My dad's going to turn up to the meeting. You know, Mexican Red Bull will turn up. You'll give me the contract, and we'll go on our way.
But like, if it was me, which I said this all the way through, kind of with the Hamilton contracts at Mercedes, like, you're in a position where you can play hardball, and it's not like okay, they kind of need Verstappen, but you could plug essentially anyone in that second car, and I mean, even Logan Sargent. This is what is a ridiculous stat that's out at the moment. Logan Sargent has never out-qualified Alex Albon,
but he's
out-qualified Checo Perez 6 times.
That's kind of concerning because, let's be honest, Logan Sargent is he's holding up the bottom.
Yeah, and it's not to say like he's not a plonker, but in this day and age, he's not up to the level of a Formula One driver. 20 years ago, like, he would have been okay. But nowadays, you haven't, like, you Guan Yu Zhou's and people like that, they're not bad drivers, but they're not at that level that you need to be to win the championship.
Formula 1.5. We should have like a mid basically everyone below Daniel Ricciardo. That seems like a good line.
Just a random choice there.
A random spot, but anyone who scored less than 8 points is in Formula 1.5. I'll just have a quick look. Lance Stroll 17, Daniel Ricciardo 9. So far looking good. Bierman 6. So Bierman would be number 1 in Matt's new Formula 1.5. That seems like a good arbitrary number that I just made up on the spot. Also, no Canadians. I don't know why, but I just feel like...
I'm shocked.
Yeah,
I do like your theory that Villeneuve's pissed off with the whole China Lance ramming Ricardo and Ricardo blaming Lance for something that was clearly his fault.
Well, the problem is nowadays we have high definition cameras everywhere. Like it's not like you look at it like in the 1980s and go, "Oh, Dave, I think you hit me here," but I can't tell because the grainy, TV footage shows 2 dots like a Nintendo and 1 dot hitting into another. Everyone saw the brake light came on, and then he was like looking over here, going, "Oh, shit, shit!" And then his dad have to defend him, and then Villeneuve's like, "Don't worry, I'm on the commentary team in a couple of weeks. I will protect you, my Canadian brethren. I will say stupid, outlandish things just like you did, and for some reason, it'll go down like a bunch of bricks."
It'll deflect attention from how badly you're doing out there.
Yeah, everyone will forget that you're a loser, and I reckon maybe Checo paid him off, and just basically said, "Look, just say what you need to say. I don't need to be seen."
Said that, like, they had a pretty good weekend, didn't they?
Red Bull?
Nah, Aston Martin.
Aston Martin had a 6-7.
Both of them score points. Yeah.
Yeah, 6-7.
Yeah, which is actually, and Lance was fairly solid all weekend.
But like
flew
I
under the
said,
radar.
Ferrari's only 49 points behind.
Yeah, which
if
if
you
you've
have,
got two drivers scoring,
well, they've scored. They've been on the podium every race except two.
yeah,
And if you're getting people on the podium, like they've had a 1-2, 3-4, 3-5, 1-3, they're scoring good amount of points, whereas Red Bull have sort of faltered in the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks, ever since after China, they've not had a podium together, which you'd expect from Red Bull. You'd expect Max to win, and then Checo to at least get third.
Yeah.
And awkwardly sit there and like go, I should have been second, but something happened.
Yeah. It's probably the big thing that's going to save Red Bull is that you'll have your weekends like last weekend where McLaren are the faster, and Mercedes is potentially in the fight.
I'd say again, half of Mercedes is going to be in the fight.
Yeah. Having said that, I mean, Lewis, he just needs to, I suppose, get his head in the right place.
I still stand by Lewis Hamilton, and I remember seeing this in one of the Drive to Survive interviews, where all the other drivers, it sounded like, and it could just be edited that way, but it sounds like all the drivers are like, next week is Spain, concentrate Spain, just Spain. And then when they say you finish third, you're like, that's all right, that's a good finish. After that is, the Red Bull Ring? Focus on the Red Bull Ring. The way Lewis sort of said it was like, I'm after my championship. I've got to get my next I need number 8.
Yeah.
So he sort of sees the whole thing as one big race. And if he has a couple of bad, races, like, well, this championship's over. Screw this. I'm going to complain and say that Max is dominating too much and it's made the sport boring. I've got a supermodel in a drive in one of my new cars because, it's what I do now. Whereas I feel like every other person's just like, yeah, one race done, second race done, and then you got people like Zach who have to get 2 tattoos now. And awkwardly, did you see when he got it? They awkwardly asked him about it, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I got that other one. We don't talk about that one. It's right here. Yeah, how'd you get that one? Anyway, I gotta go. We don't talk about that one.
Yeah,
I don't like knowing that Daniel Ricciardo is going to be on my arm forever." And I will make another outrageous claim. He will have another tattoo on his arm by an Australian.
Yeah. I don't think Oscar's too far away.
I've made this claim to internally to us, Dave, but I'll let everyone else hear it. McLaren 1-2 finish this year, and it will be before a Ferrari 1-2 finish. I'm going to make outrageous claims, Dave, because certain other people don't make as many outrageous claims. They just make things like someone will finish in the top 5 if it's raining.
You want to challenge a semi-famous Canadian for the most outrageous claims.
I feel, is Villeneuve always there, by the way?
No, they put him on just for Canada. I think it's just to give it a bit of local flavour. Like, as we had a bit of a disagreement while watching the telecast the other day, they've put the American chick in there for the American rounds.
NASCAR?
But apparently Canada is different to America.
Is it?
Well, as I said, it's part of America. Funnily enough.
It's America's hat, right? At the top.
Mexico, Brazil, Paraguay, I think. America. Now there's the United States and then all the others. But yeah, she's there for the American rounds.
Oh, very clever. Written
Yeah.
that into her contract.
Yeah, I think she's doing the Mexico and that as well. I could be
I
wrong
mean,
on that.
technically you're right then, Dave. So,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
when's
So,
Mexico?
yeah, she doesn't go. But that was another thing with Jacques Villeneuve on the weekend. Made Danica look competent.
He really just did so. Like, I mean, good on Danica Patrick. She's got a good job, and you know she's done a lot more than me in motorsport. But I'm allowed to whinge about everyone because I'm just an idiot on the internet. But
That's right.
He really did come across like, as Danica Patrick will say, you know, and all sports have this. They'll point out the obvious, like, oh, he made a good turn there, and I'm like, thanks, Danica, but you know. But then Villeneuve just sounded like his job on that weekend was not to tell people like how the drivers were thinking, like the G-forces going around the corner, what's going through their mind. It was, oh, fuck them. I've just got a mission. That's all I need. I just need to come off as an angry old man who, you know, those ones that like sit in the corner and go, get your T-shirt signed by a world champ. And they're like, Mom, who's the weird guy in the corner? And like, that's Jacques Villeneuve. I've never heard of him. I was a world champ. Sure you were, Granddad. Anyway, back in your box. Like, he just seems like, again, all sports have it. Those angry people that have like won a sport, that, you know, and you're like, why are you here?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, this is what I mean. No one, whereas Senna has been dead for years and he is held in such high regard and people know of him because what he did was amazing. I've watched a lot of now old footage, Dave, and they have highlights of Schumacher, Senna in the wet in what was it, England, Donington?
Yeah.
Yeah, like his super lap, right? I've seen that multiple times because it appears all the time and it's amazing. I've never been on YouTube and it's just said, hey, Matt, you know what you need to see? 15 times Jacques Villeneuve was just amazing. Or even better, just 2 times Villeneuve was amazing. It'd be like a 3-second race of just him getting into a car.
He did. There was a couple of good.
Oh, I'm
results
sure there were,
things from
Dave,
him.
but for some reason, F1 has decided not to, and YouTube doesn't even suggest it to me. Like, he doesn't seem to have, I will call it now, marketable qualities.
Yeah, I think as well though, like he was very right place, right time as well. So he came into Williams when in '96 Williams like were very dominant. So a lot of the time, like I'd have to look through the results properly, but you'd expect like he basically finished second to Damon Hill a lot of time, and ended up second in the championship just purely like a Checo last year situation. And then you had like that perfect storm in '97 where Hill was essentially fired from Williams 12 months before he actually left the team, or longer than 12 months before. And he was there with the best car, with a teammate who was struggling, and there was no other competition. And then nearly lost the championship to Schumacher in a Ferrari.
I was going to say, Schumacher here has been disqualified, and he was on 78 points, so that could have been very different.
It went down to the wire in the final round, and Schumacher was leading. Jacques was catching him, and Schumacher pulled a Schumacher move when Jacques went to pass and tried to crash him out. So that's why Schumacher got disqualified from the championship. So,
yeah,
but that was, and then he didn't really do anything else for his whole career. Like the rest of his Formula One career, he was just there for a period.
Here we go. He was in F1
till 2004.
Yeah. Oh, 2006.
Was that the couple of Renault? No, because then he came back with Sauber, and then Sauber gave him the arts. Yeah.
So last entry, 2006 German Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Then he joined the kart champ car.
Yeah.
5 wins, 10 podiums. He was
that That was before Formula
Oh,
One.
95. It was too.
Yeah.
He was in NASCAR. Oh, and also, he's speaking of a great segue. He was in the 24 hours of Le Mans. His best finish was second in a Peugeot.
Which
I'm
year
just
was
reading-
that? The year Brabham won.
08. So
So that was later, I think.
who won that? I'm just reading the last bit, Dave, down on his wiki page. No one else needs to read this. Just take my word for it. It just says other ventures, angry old man bitter at the world, jealous of Dan Ricciardo's success. Again, no one needs to look that up. I guarantee you it's there. It's probably going to get deleted, but yeah. It basically just says who's a whinging Canadian who hates people doing better than him, and he's just a bitter old man. But
Big Lance Stroll fan.
yeah.
Hmm.
And obviously not being taken seriously enough as a real champion. Again, don't look it up, Dave. It's all there.
Him and Jensen Button and Equal Machinery can have a
Well,
a
I feel
little
like
group.
at least out of those three, people will know who Jensen Button is because of his documentary. Not about him, but about the team. Equal Machinery comes on and he opens with, "My name is Nico Equal Machinery."
Yeah.
You know, like that's
I think the big thing though as well, so like with Jensen, that he beat Villeneuve in the same team. We won't say destroyed, but he did beat him. But like Jensen won the championship, could have stayed at what then became Mercedes. He then went to McLaren and actually ran like extremely close to Hamilton. I think he actually, over the 3 years they were together, he actually scored more points. Which, granted, that was a bit skewed because two of the championships Hamilton beat him, I think, but there was the one in the middle where Hamilton couldn't stop ramming Felipe Massa and didn't finish a lot of races. So it was a bit skewed. Like it was 2-1, but overall Jensen actually scored more points than him. Like Jensen actually had a fairly good career the whole way through, whereas Villeneuve had 2 years that were good, and then the rest of it was a flop. But he made hard work of winning the '97 championship. That he should have won.
So what you're saying is he Perezed up his season. He had he's making what should be simple look difficult.
Yeah.
And then don't tell Rob this because he'll get annoyed because Dan has got championships of Netflix, champion of marketing, and will probably, which as much as it will hurt Rob to say, I reckon Daniel, of the people who get remembered of this like Drive to Survive era, it'll be Verstappen, Lewis, and Ricciardo, because that's how a lot of it's. They'll remember who wins, and they'll remember who Netflix do entire episodes on. Even when they do an episode on like another team, they're like, "Oh, let's just check in and see what Dan's doing. Oh, he's eating an apple. We could watch this for 5 minutes, and we will." So here's 5 minutes of Daniel Ricciardo eating an apple on Netflix in high definition. And then
I don't think Dan Ricciardo's ever won a championship.
Has he? Wait, I'll look it up. Wait,
I'm just looking it up now, but
championships has.
I run Formula Renault 2.0 in 2008, and he won British Formula 3 in 2009.
They are championships.
Yeah. So he
they're
has,
two, and Villeneuve only got one championship.
Villeneuve won kart, and I'm pretty sure he won like.
No, but that's kart championship. Rob just said championship. You added kart to it. That's different. Null and void, like the 2008 F1 doesn't count, Dave.
Yeah. So Villeneuve actually, I think he won one of the junior categories coming up as well.
I still reckon Dan probably won more. Also, Dan's had more starts, so obviously they want to keep him around for longer.
Yeah, because he's a popular driver. People actually like him.
Yeah, he's a nice man that people like to see.
Yeah.
And Andy was in that very established Western Australia Formula Ford, which we all know is the pinnacle of Western Australia.
Yeah, he did a whole 3 races in that.
Oh, that's what I have to ask, Dave. With Checo's broken car,
Yeah.
can you explain that to me in simpleton terms? Because I don't understand. His car got broken. He drove around. It was deemed unsafe. He's getting a 3-place penalty because
I think there's been a rule change somewhere that was kept very quiet. I don't fully understand it because instead of, say, parking the car somewhere and causing a safety car, he's driven back to the pits to not cause a safety car. So he drove back to the pits fine. So how was it unsafe to drive it back to the pits? I mean,
was he meant to have been pulled over and?
Yeah, so I'm not sure if there's something's been slightly changed in the rules recently where you're supposed to pull over in the safest place to stop as quick as possible if the car's not safe to continue. But
statistically speaking, the safest place is in the pit, in the pits, because if you pull over, there's nothing stopping a Lance Stroll just taking the corner wide and sideswiping into your vehicle.
Yeah. So
I'm just it seems a bit weird.
I mean, it's kind of, I found it funny, but it's also, it kind of doesn't make sense. So then when you've driven it back, so like, I mean, Schumacher drove the car back on 3 wheels. Lewis Hamilton. Yeah. Lewis Hamilton when he won at Silverstone the other year on 3 wheels. Yeah, because the tyre had blown up or whatever. Like, okay, so does he get a 3-place grid penalty at the next race for that?
Does that mean essentially Checo is going to basically collapse? He's going to poll about, I'm going to say 3 or 4, and then end up 6 or 7 anyway. Yeah, a lot of people are saying that it was deliberately done to stop so Max could keep going or something.
Yeah, but what do you want him to do? Then stop and cause a safety car? Then that opens a
safety car. I think it was the opposite of what happened.
Yeah, they didn't want the safety car. But then you turn around and you're like, well, what do? You're like, oh, okay, the car's damaged. I'll just stop on the side of the track, cause a safety car. Like, then that's open to, what happened in Singapore. Because you could be like, you get out and you're like, well, I thought the car was damaged. I had to stop. Oh, it wasn't actually. I could have actually driven it back, but I didn't want to risk a fine for driving.
It's breach Article 26.10 of the sporting regulations. Failed to leave the track with serious mechanical difficulty. Yeah, but how are you meant to tell if you've got serious difficulties? Like if you can drive it around, because in my understanding would be if I'm Checo and I'm driving my car and then I break it and then you're on the radio and like, how are you, Matt? And I'm like, all good. And they're like, your car looks pretty screwed. And you're like, all right, why don't we drive it into the pits and have a look? Because you know when who was it that drove into one of the advertising barriers and got it caught on their car for a while?
There's been a few cases of that.
There's a bit, but if that happened to me, right, and I've driven into it, they'd be like, hey, Matt, we've just seen your car. you've got a panel on it that says, you know, eat Nutella. Latifi's very upset. You would drive back into the pit. They take it off. Someone at the front would be like, "Nah, front wing's broken." Yank off the nose, put another nose on, right? If you didn't know what the damage was, you can't really get out of the car, do a little walk around and go, "Should be right." And then, you know.
Well, at the Indy 500 this year, Colton Herter spun and knocked the front wing off the car and was like, "Oh, fucking day done." Gets out of the car, walks off. They picked up the car on the tow truck or whatever, took it back to the pits, and the team's like, there's nothing wrong with it. Put a new front wing on it, get the fuck back in the car.
Oh, he already walked off?
He'd gone off or whatever. I think he might have got checked because there's standard procedure after an accident, you get checked by the medical crew. But he could have kept going.
It sounds like he did what they did in Talladega Nights, where the guy just left and he went to do with Lando. And, it was a safety. It was a safety car, wasn't it? They didn't. I was under the impression they were just like, if he pulls over, they're going to have to get the trolley out or whatever it is.
Yeah, safety car for.
And then obviously because Max's car's being. Lando could probably catch him.
Yeah.
And then what's his face would have to get another tattoo. And then
it might only be for the first win.
Is that the rule?
I'm not sure.
I mean, they've only had 2 wins.
Yeah. It could end up full sleeves if he starts doing it for every win if they become quite successful.
I didn't realize how big Zach was. He's a
man.
He's a big unit.
Yeah.
I know F1 drivers are small, but he's a I don't think he was ever going to be driving F1's like he's wide shouldered.
Yeah. Yeah. He's an American man.
Speaking of American men, Dave, do we have any updates on our favorite 11th team that doesn't exist yet?
I don't know. I saw something today. I'm not sure if it was rehashing something from previous, but it was the Liberty Media guy saying that there's no chance. I'll do everything in my powers to not let.
I saw that.
Andretti have. I don't get it.
It doesn't make any sense that you'd want an American. You've done so much to get Americans in. You clearly want Logan to get points.
Yeah.
Do you think they're waiting for Logan to get a podium finish, and then when he gets up there, he's like, "I'd also like to announce I've joined Andretti."
I don't get it. So what do you say? The things that, like, you've got, say, supercars, they wanted to reduce the grid to 24 cars, which they've done that. They purchased back licenses or whatever. Like, F1 has it's written there that they can have, I think it's 13 teams.
Okay.
So the process was opened up. You've got successful candidates there. I don't get why not.
So
anyway,
do they get the owners to sit in the cars? No. I didn't think so.
No. I think there was Nicky Lauda when he was working at Jaguar, and he said the drivers were plonkers and he could do a better job. I think he struggled to fit in the car and then lapped like 30 seconds lap slower than and then kind of went, maybe I should shut up.
Speaking of other owners, in bigger news, I believe Mrs. Ginger Spice has changed her name.
Yeah.
So she's not Mrs. Horny, Ginger Hornier.
Was she down as Ginger Horner or what is it, Jerry Horner?
I think she was Jerry Horner for a while, and then
Okay.
it was Halliwell for a while. But I've also pointed this out, Dave. At the end of the year, he will lose the team or Ginger Spice. I feel like it's one or the other.
Hmm.
And if he loses the team, he'll be like, I want to step down and spend more time with the family, because that's the line you have to use.
Yeah.
Not fuck you, Horner. Fuck you, Helmet. I'm out. He'll be like, I want to spend more time with the family. I'm on my way.
Mm.
Or if she leaves, he'll just put his entire life into that team and become absolutely unbearable. And the team will fall apart. He will become. It will be like Star Wars. He'll become the man that he hates, and then Toto will see him. Yes.
Yeah. Well, more Zach, I think.
I feel like Zach just wants to be a part of the club.
Yeah. Well, they're getting into that realm. McLaren are.
I think once, like I said, if McLaren get a 1-2 finish by the end of the year, Zach will decide he gets to sit at the big boy table with Ferrari, Mercedes, and Red Bull.
Yeah.
And he'll be like, Ferrari, I don't think seem to care. There's whatever, we'll just race around,
We're Ferrari.
We're
Give
Ferrari,
us
we
extra
don't
money.
care. And Zach will just be, I want to be a part of the big boy club. And they'll be like, no, not today. No. He's like, well, we had a 1-2 finish. I'm like, yeah, cool,
And then you got Lawrence popping his head in.
Is he truly delusional? Like, he's basically said, I want to win a world championship, which theoretically you could do. You have a world champion on your team, right? That's fine.
Yeah.
And then he said, we're aiming for winning the constructors. Now, the problem with winning the constructors is, I'll just double check. You need to have.
It's the same issue Red Bull's having this year.
Yes.
Hmm.
My understanding with the constructors, you want 2 drivers equally good and better than everyone else. So
I think a realistic target for Aston Martin is the Drivers' Championship.
Yes.
And until you employ 2 proper drivers.
And you're not going to... Well, the second driver would help you get to your Drivers' Championship.
Yeah.
You need a Rookie of the Year and then Lance Stroll to be your Rubens, who will help you out.
Having said that, I mean, Lance probably had his best race of the year on the weekend.
I mean, it was his... I think it was his best result. No, he had a 6 in Australia.
Yeah, but that was also where where was Alonso in Australia?
He was 8.
Ooh, interesting. Something must have happened there.
Well, Fernando has only missed out on points in 2 races, where Lance has only made points in 4 races.
Well, the joke at the start of the year was that you've had 1 points paying position that was either Lance Stroll, or if he's having a bad weekend, that's open for anyone else. Which is obviously, with the development happening, it's changed quite a lot, the pecking order. So it's made a lot harder for Lance.
It feels like I don't know. His dad obviously has to believe everything he says to himself, and what he says about his son. But
yeah,
we're not having.
Well, McLaren are doing just fine with their Mercedes engine.
Yeah.
They tried to go down the path. We need to have our own engine, blah, 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 and it was a disaster. And then they end up with Renault for a couple of years because they couldn't do the whole Honda thing. So imagine them trying to do their own engine.
Maybe they secretly are.
Oh, maybe.
So Dave, if Dan hasn't signed his contract yet because he hasn't got one, is he getting? Is Liam Lawson going to get screwed over?
Someone's going to get screwed over.
I feel like
I thought it was going to be possibly Yuki. But yeah, I now
Yuki
think it's either going to be
guarantees-
Checo or Liam.
You reckon, even though they signed the contract, they can't just make one of them now the third driver?
Oh yeah, I think Checo's got a good chance of being shuffled out.
Because the Mexican one will be a couple of, I reckon by about, or maybe Singapore, you might see the gap between the two teams get too close for comfort. And then let's say, Dave, we get to Singapore, right? And both teams are on, what do we say, 500 points? 500 or so points each? It's quite close. We're in Singapore, and Checo plows it into the wall. No, not 2008 plow it into a wall, but he just plows it into a wall. Can they just go, hey Checo, out you get, and they either promote Dan or Yuki into the proper Red Bull, and then they go to Liam, hey Liam, what are you doing? This is your job interview. You're jumping in the Dan Ricciardo Cash App Super Visa Honey Badger Racing Mobile. You get, and let's say all four of them get points somehow, magically. Like Liam from the back finishes in 10th place. He gets a point. Yuki finishes somewhere else. Max finishes first, and Dan maybe a podium. At that point, do they just go, Checo, you will have one more race in Mexico, and then after that, we are brutally axing you from the Red Bull team?
Yeah, we're done here.
Well, I'm imagining everyone has like objectives, right? Dan and Yuki's would be get points. We don't know. We don't really care how many, but if you can get plural points, the two of you, we're happy. And if one of you do very well, like if Dan finishes 8th and gets 4 points, that will count towards you and Yuki's total, because we left the weekend with 4 points. We're happy, right? Checo's would be, we just need you to get a 2nd to 4th to bolster to bolster Max's points, because we really want that Drivers' Constructors champion. We know Max is going to win. That's fine. We don't care. But if Checo starts dropping points and then Ferrari start getting, Ferrari finish all their races in 4th and above or get a podium. Well, if they get 2 podiums or a podium and 4th, and Max finishes first, they're gonna catch up. And it's gonna take a couple of races. Yeah, by the time you get to like Singapore, they're gonna be like, "Well, Checo, why are you here?"
Yeah, the only is that potentially they're sandbagging, so their entry fee's less next year if they don't win the Constructors' Championship. They get more wind tunnel time.
Would they do that though?
It's a dangerous game to play.
It's very close to, you're sort of tanking to get. And I mean, because they don't have Newey anymore, they're like, well, we're going to need as much wind time.
Yeah.
I don't know if you'd take that risk. I can't see Horner going, because I feel like they just want to win and make it like. I think you got it 2 ways. You get to Singapore and it's a very close constructors battle, or it's because what was it last year? It was the constructors title was settled in Britain. It was it was settled. It was settled pretty early on. Like Max was on 7,000 points, and the next person had like -6 for some reason. Like it was. It wasn't a contest. Whereas
Max won it by himself.
Yeah, well, Max turned up in the first 10 races and got 80 bonus points for cranking up the difficulty. He did some side order things. He did some Uber orders for like people on the side. He went through the pit lane, just for laughs. I think he put on like some wet tires on the back and some intermediates at the front. He started backwards and then he had to do the J turn just to keep going. Where I think Singapore, I think that's about halfway left, isn't it? Singapore, Azerbaijan.
Oh,
Around there.
I have to look at the calendar properly.
I feel like around there, it's either going to be very close or it's blown out. And I feel like it's going to be very close.
Yeah, I think it's going to tighten up.
And it's going to get and especially with Singapore being the teeny tiny circuit where you can smash into walls, it just takes one Checo to smash into a wall. Also, when you smash into the wall at Singapore, do you have to be craned out? Or is it?
Well, it depends, because there's certain areas where it can be craned out, and then Nelson Piquet Jr. areas where they have to, so you have an extended safety car period.
I'm going to make a prediction, Dave, and you can write this one down and put it on the wall behind you so we never lose it. Singapore will be a very, very tense time for Red Bull and Ferrari. And just for laughs, Zach will be there, just be like, what about us? Oh, don't forget. And they'll be, here we go. So they're currently, we'll say 50 points behind, and McLaren is another 30 behind. I reckon Red Bull and Ferrari will be close, and then McLaren will be 40 or 50 points behind those two. Like, they'll be the same.
Okay.
So it'll be getting very squeezed. And then Aston Martin, well, no one cares about them. Mercedes, they're done. George will, you know what? George will do what George does and get into first place, see a wall, see a turn, and go, it's my destiny to smash into that tyre.
He didn't crash this time.
No, he didn't. But, like, when he's coming first or, like, close to coming first, little George appears on his shoulder and go, hey, George, you know what'd be funny? You smashed it into these tyres. And then the other George is like, I don't know why you're asking me. Smash it into that tyre. Singapore will be a very tense time. And it'll boil over in Mexico. Yeah. I reckon Singapore is the start of it, and then Mexico is the tipping point where they have fiery words and Horner has to be taken out by a helicopter and there's this angry mob. I would also love to see the very last race, a replacement. Instead of Mercedes and Verstappen, I want to see Ferrari and Red Bull, and I want to see Red Bull get screwed over this time and have safety cars. That would make for the greatest footage for Drive to Survive, because then we get to see Christian Horner throw headphones down, and then they'll cut to Toto, who's just sitting there going, I don't even care anymore. I've lost my best driver. I've got George next year. What am I even doing here? You know what? He'll be sitting there with like a cocktail shaker. He's like, I checked out 4 races ago. Why are you even looking at me? I shouldn't even be here. I'm drunk. I shouldn't be around any of this stuff. My blood alcohol level is higher than what's in the car right now. I could breathe into the car and we could win. That's how I feel like it's going to be, and I feel like Zach's going to want to be in on everything. Like every time there's a protest, he feels like he has to come along and be like, this doesn't concern me, but I need to be here.
Yeah.
You need to hear him. He's essentially, as I see it, because I'm self-aware, me. If I was an F1 owner, Rob would be like Toto, Boovy would be Ferrari, and then you could be like Red Bull. But every time you got into a fight, I would just have to plant myself over there for no reason other than I want to cause some shit. Like this was between Ferrari and Red Bull, but I'm just going to stand here and be like, I've got thoughts. And I want Zach to, next year to become Junior Toto. I feel like he's got the. Or do you think, like Toto, he's going to start at like an average team, and then like another team will take him, and then that's when he'll get the power rush? You reckon he's just going to stick with his own team?
He's in the final form.
Okay, that's good to hear. Yeah. All right, they're I think that's enough crazy predictions for.
Yeah. Well, just on the predictions, how do we do the scoring on the tipping?
Boovy gets 10 points to begin with, and then
because I'm in charge now, so.
So there's no cheating this year. I mean, there's no fudging of the numbers.
Well, I don't think I need to cheat at the moment. So
are you doing that well?
Without even cheating. I genuinely was going to cheat, but I actually genuinely did pretty well, so I don't need to at the moment.
So wait, who did you pick?
Well, I was thinking, do we do correct position? You get 5 points, and then 1 point if you've tipped them for the podium.
I think if you pick anyone but Max to win, so if
because we don't want these rules currently. Okay, we don't want to take Max out. We don't want to take Max out of it at the moment.
That's true. Good thinking. So if Fernando, you would get 6 points in second. You would get 6 points.
Well, I was thinking if you pick the correct position, you get 5 points for that.
Yeah, and then 1 point, so you get total. And 6 points.
But say if you picked like Norris for the podium, like if say for an example, for instance, if you put Norris third, you would get 1 point for tipping him in the podium. Just say for instance, you picked him second, you would get 5 points.
Oh, I was going to say you picked the driver correctly and the position, so it'd be 6.
Oh, okay. We could do that.
I mean, these numbers mean absolutely nothing until the end of the year we eat cheeseburgers.
So let me just do some calculations then.
Okay.
Boovy.
0.
0?
Even with the Boovy bonus of 10 points when he.
Well, he doesn't get that when I'm doing the calculations.
Does that mean Dave gets the bonus now?
No, well, as I said, I may not need it. Now, Rob. Rob actually got 1 point for going for George for the win. George got on the podium, so
he did.
We may have made fun saying that those were ridiculous tips last week, but
do you have E-Scooter's ones? Because E-Scooter wants to win the coveted cheeseburger.
E-Scooter didn't give us tips last week, so
I believe E-Scooter did. I'll make them up for you, E-Scooter. You get points.
So now, Matt,
yes.
you put Max in first, so 6 points.
Yes.
Leclerc second, so a bit of a foul there, and Norris in third, so that's a bonus point there. So Matt's currently on 7 poins. Now
let's end it now. End of the stream. We're done.
Wait a second.
Winner.
Dave had Max for the win. 6 points.
You get a point for that because I've already done that. You can't. We both can't get.
Dave had Norris in second place, so that's 12 points.
I feel like you're cheating.
Dave had Piastri in third, so at one point in this game, I was like, "We're on here, boys. We are on." So unfortunately, I ended up with 12 overall, and no one was successful. Surprisingly, no one tipped Ocon for 10th.
Did I make any other outrageous claims?
It was the other thing I've written down was that you were going to shout everyone, including I
remember that.
The fan base. Cheeseburgers when Toro Rosso wins.
That didn't happen though, did it?
Now, well, I think that was at any point this year.
Yes.
So,
no. I will stand by that.
I don't think there's like a disclaimer that I said Toro Rosso and they're really Visa Cash App RB.
No. Like, I'll make it more specific. If Yuki wins, cheeseburgers. If Dan wins, Big Macs.
Hey.
Now, if Piastri wins, obviously nothing because I feel like that's going to happen, and I don't want to have to keep buying, Big Macs. I want this to be like a one-off thing because I feel like when this happens, you'll have more viewers, and it will end up costing me a lot more than I've jokingly prepared for.
I'll just stream it on the Supercars Talk channel as well that week.
You'll be like, there's a good chance that you will win a cheeseburger if you watch tonight. If I get half of my 3,000 viewers, that's 1,500 cheeseburgers.
Could be a way of getting a few more viewers on a Thursday night.
Look, if worst comes to worst, Dave, we will just order a bunch of burgers to be met at a central location.
Yeah.
E-scooter will get that delivered to you when, you know what? If Dan wins E-scooter, I will get Turkish Uber Booby. He will drive up and deliver you a Big Mac meal. He will leave in the morning. He will live stream the whole thing and pass it to you. He'll do a lap of Bathurst, bring it to you, and then come back. How long does it take to drive up to the Bathurst, Dave? Like, we did it once or twice.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I think it was about 9 hours it took me.
Look, if we'll be
going up for the 12-hour.
Here we go. It takes 8 hours. So
yeah, I had to, like, there was a couple of pee breaks, a smoko break, a lunch break, and a fuel stop. So yeah, I think I did I left at 5 in the morning, I think, and got there at, what was that? Yeah, it was just before 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It would have been. Yeah, so it was 9.
Here's my plan. When Dan wins a race, which will be, just going to magically call it, maybe Italy. You reckon?
That'd be a good one for Toro Rosso to win.
So Dan wins it, and then Boovy will leave Melbourne at 4 in the morning.
As Dan crosses the finish line.
So basically, as soon as Dan wins, Boovy leaves. He drives up. He gets the Happy Meal at midday, drops it off for lunch. E-scooter eats it, films it, a pre-organized thing. Thanks, guys.
It's been downgraded from a Big Mac meal to a Happy Meal now.
Oh, no, Big Mac meal. Or whatever happens to be there, thing. Yeah. Boovy then leaves, comes back, gets back online by 8 o'clock for the live stream to watch him with the recorded video of the Big Mac meal being eaten. I'm just
Perfect.
calling all these wild claims that we missed out on a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
So you've got to be writing these down, Dave. There'll be a 1-2 McLaren finish before 1-2 Ferrari finish.
Okay.
I've got a few. George will outscore Lewis. Oh. And I feel like Logan Sargent might not finish the year. That one's
I'm not sure. Yeah.
I feel like that one's just low hanging fruit. Also, Boovy, you can buy yourself a Happy Meal. You can upsize it if you want. Okay. Also,
they're not toy cars; they're collectibles.
Scale model replicas.
Yeah. Yeah, this is serious. They're not toys. Come on.
Yeah. Also, I predict, so there'll be 22 drivers in the tally at the end of the year. Logan will finish 22nd out of 20 drivers.
Who's going to be the 21st? we've had Behrman. Are we going to see a Lawson in?
Who's in line to replace Sergeant?
Oh,
Commander?
Kimi Antonelli will be. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Antonelli, he'll get like everyone that comes in for their one race always does well.
Yeah.
So I reckon he'll come in and he might even, if he finishes 9th, he overtakes Magnussen. Oh, this is, yeah. I feel like Bottas and Logan will finish out of their, normal finishing places. They'll
Bottas,
finish.
Is Zhou ahead of him?
I mean, technically on this list he is.
Okay. Because he's probably had a 11th or 12th or something.
Oh, yeah, he has 1/11th. So he's just missed out on points. Yeah, there we go. I think that's enough crazy claims for today.
All right.
Do
Well, on
you
that
think-
note,
wait, do you think Lawson will get a drive? Or they're just going to screw him over?
at the moment, gut feel is that yes, we will see Lawson on the grid next year,
Oh, what about this year?
and we
When
might
they-
have three Australians on the grid next year,
Oh,
and no Mexicans.
I mean, if they're going to get rid of Checo, they're just going to clean swipe. Just,
Yeah, they won't demote him to Toro Rosso.
well, I look forward to Singapore now with my crazy claims. I'm gonna put a thing up there, right here. It'll be a picture of Checo.
Crazy claims.
Crazy claims in great. Oh wait, Booby's made a crazy prediction. McLaren to finish second.
Okay.
So Booby, what you're saying is they're gonna fix up a almost 100-point deficit. I like where this is going.
Second to who?
Oh. Wait a minute. Do you reckon Red Bull dropped to third?
Well, it's possible.
I would like to think by Singapore, how good would be a three-way constructor battle by Singapore?
Hmm.
Ooh.
Yeah, it'd be good to see.
All right, I think that's enough crazy things. I'm going to work out where the nearest Macca's in Bathurst is for later.
There's one in Bathurst. I'm
Oh, I
pretty
believe
sure.
you went there.
Yeah. I'll frame my bit of paper,
Yep.
and we'll see you next week.
See you all.
Have a good weekend, everyone.